Hello to all who have subscribed to this channel. Thank you for joining me and for actually wanting to hear about my story, my life's journey. My story gives God all the glory. I want to welcome you. I've chosen not to show my face only because I want you to imagine my words. Picture my words in your mind. That way you can actually take yourself on this journey to actually try to feel what I was feeling. Thank you for joining me. Again, my name is Selena Robinson, and I was born in 1981. I was born in North Carolina, and I choose not to give names at this point, but I will tell you that my maiden name was McClellan. My first marriage, I took on the last name of Scudder, and now I am a Robinson. But growing up as a child, it was very difficult. I remember times when my father would just wake up angry. Before I go there, I am a PK. PK meaning preacher's kid, pastor's kid. I am one out of 5 children. It was 6. I did have a brother, God rest his soul. He died as a baby. However, I am number 4 out of the 5. We were better known as the McClellan sisters. Well, back to my story. Growing up as a PK, it was very hard and very difficult at times to live underneath of that roof. Only because the pressure as being a PK kid, everyone looked at you and you had to walk this straight and narrow. It was a big front, hiding the pain, the guilt, the shame. But growing up as a PK, you learned how to deal with that, how to cope with it, how to become one with it, how to make it become one with you. No child, no person should have to cope with, deal with, become one with the things that not only myself, but my other 4 siblings had to deal with underneath of that roof growing up. Well, I tried to go back into my memory to recall some of these tragic events. I mean, when I say tragic, because I felt like I died at some point and someone else's life took over me. Particularly speaking, my molester. So, I grew up in a house that was God I live and for God I die. That's all I knew. And that was my anchor. That was the only thing that I could grab hold to that was put inside of me, embedded inside of me, whether the person who was hurting me knew it or not. But again, it helped me. And it all started at an early age for me. Growing up, I didn't know that or if there was others in that household who was dealing with what I dealt with. But in my mind, in my heart, excuse me, bear with me, I'm trying to get through this. This is the first time I've ever gone public with this story. But I never, not once in my childish mind, my innocent mind, thought, I'm sorry, as my mind recollects and goes back to the days when all of this has happened, it sometimes brings tears to my eyes, not because I haven't forgiven, I haven't healed. It's because I actually feel sorry for those of you who have gone through what I have gone through. I know that I'm not the only one. But getting back on track, let's just dive in. The first day that this has happened to me, I can recall when I won't give names again, but my molester, my abuser, it was my biological father. The first time I was molested, for those of you who do not know what molestation is, it's whenever someone takes advantage of you. It doesn't matter what age you may be, but when someone takes advantage of you emotionally, physically, and they abuse you, they handle you in ways of them pleasing and pleasuring themselves, not thinking about who you are, your emotional state, your well-being, your mental state. They're all about themselves and self-fulfillment. But the first time this happened to me was, again, I can't necessarily recall the age. However, one thing that I am sure of is that it happened. And the first time that it happened was actually not, I was born in North Carolina, but it wasn't North Carolina. It was whenever we moved to New Jersey. And we lived in Lindenwold, New Jersey, in this apartment complex. All 5 girls and 2 parents. My mother worked her butt off to provide and to keep a roof over our heads, because my father, I don't know if he didn't want to work or that he couldn't work, but I've known my father to never have a job. Growing up, we was told that he was on disability because he was in a bad car accident and it hurt his back. So that's the story that I was told. I don't know anything else. So I've never known my father to ever have a job, to ever come home from work. He's never come home late from work. He's always been home. He's always, been the one to call the family to the table for Bible studies, for prayer. And he's always just been the one to oversee the churches that we've had. I remember only 2 that we've ever had under his leadership. So my father was a stay-at-home father. My mother was a hardworking woman, and I can recall never seeing her because she always worked. And we always had food on our table. It wasn't what we wanted, sometimes, a lot of times, but I can remember having something in my belly. I remember having sheets to pull over my shoulders to keep me warm. I remember having a pillow to lay my head on. I remember that. I also remember sharing a room with my sisters in a 2-bedroom apartment, 5 girls, 2 adults. Again, I remember bits and pieces, but what I do remember, I will share with you. So the first time it happened to me, and to be clear, the first time that I was molested, taken advantage of at an early age, and I had to be between the ages of 8 and 10. The first time it happened again was in Lindenwold, New Jersey, and everyone was told to go outside and play. And the thing back then was naps. To make your kids take a nap. And my sisters and I used to always take naps together. But then I started to notice I was taking naps alone. Everyone else went outside to play for a couple of hours while I had to stay in to take a nap. I remember this one particular day. It wasn't nighttime because again everyone else was out playing. I remember this one particular day. I was told to take a nap, and I wasn't tired. I had a lot of energy to blow off. I was a kid. I wanted to be outside with everyone else running around getting dirty. So I just laid there because I didn't want any trouble. And this one particular day, I laid down as us Southerners, we call it making a pallet. So, my father made a pallet for me. Basically, he put some blankets on the ground, and I laid down. I had a pillow. I laid down, and this one particular day, he decided to lay with me. I didn't think anything of it. Daddy's sleepy, Daddy's tired. And he put his hand across me. I didn't think anything of it. A few hours went by, and I'm assuming a few hours went by. To me, it felt like it was days. So looking back now, it could have been a few hours, but he then gets up, calls everyone in, and that was that. Time goes on. He tells everyone to go outside to play, but I had to stay in to take a nap. A pallet was made for me. Again, it's just some blankets thrown on the ground, and I was given a pillow in our living room in our apartment in Lindenwold, New Jersey. And again, so this particular day, he decides to lay down with me. But he did more than just put his hand across me. He put his hand on my chest. And the next thing I felt was him rubbing on my chest. And that continued for a while. In my mind, it felt uncomfortable. It felt like it wasn't right, but I didn't know any better. So I just laid there like lifeless and allowed it to happen because I was confused. Why is my father doing this? I was so confused, didn't know anything about any sexual acts or thoughts or gestures or anything. I just laid there lifeless. I was so confused. That went on for a little while, and then it stopped. He called everyone in, and that was that. Time goes on. Again, everyone goes out to play. Everyone, could go out to play, and I was left there to take a nap. He took it a step further, took it upon himself to not only rub on my chest, but to rub on my private parts. And again, I couldn't understand. I was so confused, had no idea what was going on, so I just laid there lifeless. Not only was he my molester, but whenever he got angry, my father, that is, he would be in such a rage. He would get so angry with our mother about the smallest things. They would always argue and fight. And I didn't want him to be upset with me. I didn't want him to be angry with me. I didn't want to get hit by a belt or with his hands. So I just laid there lifeless. So that went on for a while, and then it stopped. So that continued on for a while we lived there in the Lindenwold apartments in Lindenwold, New Jersey. And then for a while, it just all stopped, and I don't know where this thought came from, but some weird way in my mind, I felt like, why did he stop? Did he find somebody else? One of my other sisters? And it was almost as if I began to get angry, because I felt like if his focus was on me, he wouldn't be doing this to anyone else. But also in a crazy way, I felt like that's how he was supposed to show his love for me. Go figure. I don't know, but as an adult, I'm starting to understand how things affected my mind at an early age and how it affected me in my adult life. So it just stopped, and I never told anyone. I never mentioned it to anyone. Life went on as usual, and the usual for me, was living with an angry father who's always upset, always hitting or slapping us for the simplest reasons. One time I came home from school. We wasn't able to wear pants back then, and I had a skirt on with a slip. The skirt was very, very thick. You couldn't see through it. There's no way you could have seen through this thick skirt because of the strict rules that we were under. But I had gym, and my school knew, my gym teacher knew that I could not wear shorts or pants. I'm running around in this skirt with a slip on because I was made to put a slip on. I come home, and I didn't know that my slip was showing. I walk through the doors. My father sees me. He assumes that I was up to something, and I got slapped across my face, and my nose started bleeding. my sister saw what happened, and she ran me to the bathroom and she helped me out, and there was blood everywhere. But that was a normal life for us. Um, Again, life went on as usual. We lived in those Lindenwald apartments for a few years, but then we moved on and moved elsewhere. Um, Again, this is where it all started. Now, I was born in North Carolina. We moved to North Carolina, from what I can remember, I was around the age of 6. We moved from North Carolina to New Jersey, again, like around the age of 6, 6 or 7, something like that. But there's more to the story. I actually wanted you to actually hear my words instead of seeing my face, so that you can actually put a picture in your mind as to what I went through. And I've held this in for so many years, and I wanted to write a book, but I felt like I needed to get this out sooner, and I wanted to use this platform to help me to get the word out. That if any of you who's listening to this, you have dealt with, you are dealing with someone who has violated you, you have to say something. And it's not your fault. It's not your fault. As much as I felt guilty that my father went on to someone else and wasn't molesting me, that wasn't my fault. I took on whatever he was dealing with. He put that on me, but it's not my fault. Talk to someone. Write a letter to someone. Text somebody. Do whatever it is that you can do to get the word out about you and your safety and your well-being. It's going to be hard. You're going to feel like you deserved it. It's your fault. But it is not your fault. These monsters have issues. They have guilt and pain that they have never dealt with. So they're acting it out on you. This is not your fault. Get help. I didn't know that. And I couldn't talk to my mother because she was always working. And I felt like if I brought it up, it will be turned on me, twisted and turned and made it so that my father would be believed by my mother, and that I needed more naps, or I needed to be on punishment, or I just wanted to break them up. But talking to my mother later on had me to realize that she wasn't aware, and it wasn't my fault. Listen, there's more to the story. Stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you tell everyone that you know to tune in, to subscribe, and that it's going to be okay. You're not the only person who is going through, who is dealing with, or who has dealt with being violated. I love you all. I will continue this story. Stay tuned. Let's stay connected. Bye-bye.